Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Vallabha Shri Varadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Shri Varadari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Shri Varadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Jana Vallabha Shri Varadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Ratira Rama Rama Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarvajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paśyato Deshakarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaurabhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We're coming to the end of the second chapter of this chapter entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized. So Arjuna started this section of this second chapter with these 4 questions. And he was asking to understand about the person who has found divine consciousness, who has found peace of mind, who has found real happiness, who has found perfection of life, the Sthitta Prajna. And he asked in the first question, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is merged in transcendence? And what are the characteristics of such a person? He asked, how does he speak and what is his language? Meaning, how is his words and mind affected by people who are neutral, favorable, or disfavorable, unfavorable to that person? And then how does he sit? And how is his mentality affected when his senses are restrained? Is he happy? Is he agitated? Is he concerned? Is he lamenting? What is the mood of that person? What is the mentality? Because Krishna said the characteristic of one who has found perfection of life is they are completely devoid of material sense desires. They engage nothing in this material senses. And then the final question is, how does he walk? Which is explained by the Acharyas means that what does one do? If they don't engage their senses in material affairs, what do? Do they sit idle under a tree? Do they engage in different activities? And if so, what? So what is the practical understanding? Okay? So we've been answering that last question since the 64th verse, where Krishna is speaking about a person who is free from all attachment and aversion. And they control their senses through this regulative principles. And that is how one attains the mercy of the Lord. Right? And Krishna has been speaking, we spoke about this finding a steady mind. Because without a steady mind, one cannot find peace. And without peace, one cannot find happiness. And Krishna said, the only way to find it, the exclusive way to find peace of mind and thus happiness, is through Krishna consciousness. There's no other way. We've been trying to find it in so many other ways, but it doesn't exist. It's like, trying to find the lack of gravity or the absence of gravity in this world. You can search and think somewhere deep in the jungle maybe it exists. It doesn't exist. It's So Krishna is saying that the only way to find it, because Krishna is the ultimate reservoir of all happiness, all pleasure, of eternal bliss and happiness. So last week, or 2 weeks ago, we discussed verses 67 and 68, which talks about how difficult it is to control the senses. Okay? The senses can be swept away, though we are trying to restrain them, by the slightest of temptations. Anybody has had that experience? We've all had that experience. Even one who is trying to focus, the senses can be pulled away. But what is the path to curb that sense gratification? Prabhupada explained, the only way to do it is by surrendering to a higher force, a higher power. What is stronger than even the will of the mind is the will of Krishna. So Prabhupada is explaining that by engaging in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, one can control the senses. So this practice of devotional service is so wonderful, because when Krishna says in the very beginning of this section that you must be free of all material sense desires, it means we must give up something. But none of us want to give up something. We only want to get. We only want to gain. So Krishna is explaining that this process of devotional service is an all-in-one process. By taking to process of devotional service, one automatically gives up their material sense desires. One doesn't have to endeavor for it separately. The Jnanis, the Sankhya Yogis, they have to first try to give up all of their desires, which is very hard and arduous. It's unsettling. Right? The mentality of that person is not so peaceful, because they have given up something, but they haven't lost a desire for it. Right? It's like when you go on a diet. You give up, I'm not eating sweets. But do you lose the desire for sweets? No. In some ways you want it more. It intensifies. And what happens when your diet is over? Either by choice or by force? You end up eating more than you did previously. So that dieting of trying to restrict the material attachments, it doesn't purify us of the desires. But by the process of devotional service, we begin to purify of those desires. Our tastes elevate to the higher taste. And so our desire for these lower tastes completely go away. Completely go away. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that nobody desires to eat mud when they have tasted laddus. It's so obvious. So, one who has tasted this sweetness of devotional life automatically loses all of the taste of mud in material life. So now in this 69th verse, Krishna is explaining how the materialist and the spiritualist are diametrically opposed. They are on opposite ends of the spectrum. It is as if they are living in two completely different worlds. Their perspectives could not be more opposite. And sometimes we wonder, is that the right situation? How can we be so opposed? Krishna is saying, yes, you're actually completely opposite. That is the nature of a materialist and a spiritualist, or that is a relative condition. So Krishna says, what is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. Activities of the introspective sage or thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed. Materialist persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self-realization. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic men. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas the man in materialist activities, being asleep to self-realization, dreams of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happiness and sometimes distress in his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self-realization activities, undisturbed by material reactions. So I'll read the verse again. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-control. And the time of awakening for all beings is the night for the introspective sage. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, or a riddle. Krishna will say later, one who sees action and inaction in action is wise. What does that mean? So what is Krishna trying to tell us here when he is saying that what is night for one is day for the other, and what is day for the other is night for the first?
The time difference between the countries, like that.
Okay. Time zone differences, maybe?
So for the materialistic, most of the fun starts in the night.
Okay. For the materialist, the fun starts at night.
For the spiritual person, they start at 4:50, 4:40. 4:30.
4:30, 4:45.
Around that time.
In the morning.
In the morning. And then like they'll be like chanting and all those things. So
Okay.
their party starts in the morning.
Okay. So the time in which they're active are different. Any other ideas, or what Krishna is indicating here? When you come to spiritual life, and sometimes you start to move away from some of your material activities, hopefully all of us are moving very fast away, seeing the futile attempt of those activities. But those we used to associate in as material activities, they ask one question to us all the time. What is that question?
Are you enjoying or not?
Are you enjoying or not?
What makes you happy?
What do you do? You used to do all these things.
What do you do?
You don't do any of those anymore. What do you do? What are you doing? Do you do anything? You must be miserable. Right? Why is that perspective there? Well, because Krishna's explaining in this verse that perspective. Right? So, Prabhupada says there are two classes of intelligent men. What is the first class? Not the highest, but the first type of intelligent person, as Prabhupada explains.
Sense gratification.
Intelligent and material activities.
Intelligent and material activity. So what does that mean?
Like doing wise things within the material platform.
Okay, so doing wise things within the material platform.
Getting more material happiness,
Okay.
like which is not real, but trying to get more material.
Or like
Okay.
getting more material with following the proper laws and
Okay,
like
Using the material things in an intelligent way.
using an intelligent way. And what is the goal of using the material things?
To be
For?
happy.
Sense gratification.
For sense gratification, right? So, with intelligence, they invent so many wonderful things. Invent 3D cinemas, IMAX movies, right? It's intelligence. It takes engineering mind and creativity and photography and technology to try to have the senses enjoy. With intelligence, they design, incredible malls with so much opulence and gratifies the senses, captivates our mind, right? You go to an amusement park and they invent so many different rides with intelligence to try to find happiness in the park, right? So, in the end, the materialist is using their intelligence to eat nicely, sleep nicely, mate nicely, and defend nicely. Anything else? Any other purpose for the intelligence? No. And it's just to pursue those activities. Now, the spiritualist is using their intelligence to do what? To eat nicely?
To please Krishna.
To please Krishna. And for what purpose?
To connect with him.
To connect with Krishna.
To attain the love of Krishna.
To attain the love of Krishna. To find eternal perfection of life. Right? So, the spiritualist is using intelligence to find perfection for the eternal spirit soul. The materialist is using intelligence for trying to enjoy the temporary features of the body. Right? When the materialist goes in an amusement park is a great illustration of our whole endeavor in material life. So you go to the amusement park. The first thing we complain about is what?
Standing in the queue.
Before that,
Right.
Expensive.
the price. The cost to enter the park. Anyone who's gone to the amusement park, oh, this is cheap. I should pay double. No. We immediately complain, it's too expensive. Right? That's always the case.
Also,
Then-
paying the price could not cover all the events.
And it's not all inclusive. Then they get to get more. So the cost of the experience is too much. Then we go into the park, and then what do we complain about?
Queue.
Queue.
Standing.
Lines.
Long lines.
Long lines. So, to enjoy one 30-second, 1 minute ride,
2 hours.
how long we have to wait in line? Double that time? Triple?
20 times more.
20, 30, 40. The ratio of us waiting to experience those moments of happiness. It's crazy. And when you really step back and think about it, it's crazy. Why we cannot just go into the park and ride whatever we want and enjoy it? Why so much endeavor, so much austerity, tapasya? When we say tapasya, oh, I don't want tapasya. How much tapasya? You're waiting in the sun, it's beating down on you, the kids are complaining, why the line's not going, feet are hurting, all this stuff, and then we get on a ride, whee! And then it's done. And we look at each other. That was fun. But what just happened? It went so fast. That's material life. The amusement park, supposed to give amusement. But 99% of the experience is the opposite of amusement. But we still go.
Fast pass.
We go to the material world thinking it's a place of amusement. But we work so hard. Most of our life, we are engaged in working so that we can enjoy for those few moments. But the materialist intelligence is geared on just trying to do that, make it the best possible way. Whereas the spiritual intelligence is looking for, let me find an amusement park with no price of admission, no lines, I can ride as much as I want, unlimited experience. Now the materialists will say, what will the materialists say?
It's impossible.
It's possible. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So make the best use of a bad bargain. Right? Whatever is here, do the best. That is at least some intelligence. Right? That's some intelligence. But real intelligence would be to find a better amusement park. And the spiritual intelligence brings one to understand that when one awakens their relationship with Krishna in loving service, one experiences this bliss that is incomparable. But it's the complete opposite in perspective. The goal of the materialist is to satisfy their senses. The goal of the spiritualist is to satisfy Krishna's senses. Wait a minute. By satisfying Krishna's senses, who is Rishikesha, the master of all of our senses, we get happiness? When you tell the materialist it, that sounds foolish. Right? So what Krishna is explaining in this verse is that what is night for the materialist? What is night for the materialist? It is all the activities of spiritual activities. They are asleep to it. Not physically asleep, but meaning they are not interested. That is an activity they don't pursue. Right? So come and study Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, maybe figuratively at this time of day they're asleep. Literally. But the point is, that's not an activity. Come enjoy Gita Jayanti today in the temple. Nah. Come experience Rath Yatra, Janmashtami. Come enjoy opulent prasadam. No, they are asleep to all of those activities. So the activities of the self-realized person, what is day for them, giving great enthusiasm, is night, meaning they're asleep to those activities. And the opposite is also true. What is giving enjoyment and pleasure to the materialist, going to the cinemas, going for intoxication, enjoying this, that, and the other, those activities, how interesting are they for this self-realized person? They have any interest? There's no interest. So they are asleep, the self-realized person is asleep to the activities of the materialist. You see? Now what Krishna is saying? Such wonderful poetry. He is saying, what is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-control. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So whatever activities that the materialist is doing, the self-realized person is completely avoiding. They're sleeping during those activities. And vice versa. All the activities that the introspective sage, the spiritualist, is doing is night for. The spiritualist has no clue why they're going and doing these silly activities. They're wasting so much time just trying to minimize the boredom between point A and point B, between birth and death. Just trying to pass time. It's mind-boggling to the spiritualist. why they would sit and do some crossword puzzle. What is the goal of a crossword puzzle? Simply to pass time. Anything of value comes from it? Nothing. We read some novel. We're simply trying to pass time by being entertained for some period of time. Anything of value comes from that? Nothing. But that activity is the life and soul of the material. But this, to the spiritual, it's just mind-boggling. And coming and reading Bhagavad Gita, going to the temple, for the materialist, that's mind-boggling. Why you would do that? What are you gaining out of it? It seems so boring. You don't eat flesh, you don't intoxicate, you don't gamble, you don't have illicit... What do you do? What are your activities? It's a completely opposite perspective. But who's on the right path? Are they both on the right path?
Spiritually active. Spiritually active.
Krishna said, the only way, let us go back to 66, one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can neither have transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Can it be any more clear? Is there any room for any alternatives? No. And we see now, to the more, day to day, we see this, anybody has been invited to a party at 6 a.m.? Anyone?
No, housewarming ceremony.
Doesn't exist.
Marriage.
Doesn't exist. The materialist will establish success of a party by how late in the night it goes, right? Oh, we partied till 3 a.m. It was great. And then success for them would be how late they can wake up. I woke up at 12 o'clock. Wow. Now for a spiritualist, success in their day is how early I woke up and chanted my japa. Wow, today I got up at 4 o'clock and finished my japa. That's the successful day. You see? In now very practical terms, complete opposite. How each defines success. Each has the same goal. The goal is the same. Finding peace and happiness. But the means to find it are completely opposite. Completely opposite. This is the day and night of the activities. I heard one nice quote yesterday that material knowledge shows you how to do something. Right? It shows you how to do something. Physics will show you how to calculate, the distance a ball will go when it's kicked with a certain force. Medical science will teach you how to cure the ailments of the body. Driving will teach you how to do. But spiritual knowledge teaches you what to do and then how to do. Spiritual knowledge gives us what is best for us and then how to accomplish it, which is why it is the ultimate knowledge. And where that knowledge comes from, where it resides in the books. And this knowledge that we can pull out from these books is so valuable because it can get us entry into the eternal amusement park of loving service of Krishna. What is the value of that? Can you put a price on it? Can you put a price on eternal happiness? So then what value you can put on the Bhagavad Gita? Because the Bhagavad Gita is giving us step-by-step instruction, specifics on how to acquire that ticket, that entry ticket. Even chapter 8 is the whole chapter on how to enter the park. What is the title of chapter 8?
Attaining the Supreme.
Attaining the Supreme. So what is the value of this Bhagavad Gita? How many dollars it's worth? It's unlimited. So this book distribution marathon month, we should try to see how we can give this unlimitedly valuable gift to anyone and everyone. Those we know and love and care for, and even those we don't even know. But out of the compassion of our heart, we want to try to help. We should go door to door, beg, please take this Bhagavad Gita. It's a small, little investment, a few dollars. Can acquire you a ticket to eternal happiness and peace. But remember, my dear materialist, you are on a path that seems very sound, but it is completely opposite to the path. You're going this way, but the park is this way. No matter how much you walk this way, how intelligently and how perfectly you walk this way, will you ever get to the goal? No, because you're walking in the wrong direction. No matter how much we try to expertly with our intelligence manipulate matter, use the different resources of the world to satisfy our senses, it won't work because we're working in the wrong direction. But we're going to keep trying until someone opens our eyes to this knowledge and says, my dear sir, turn around, you're going the wrong way, just start walking this way, and it'll all become clear. But so long as we're walking in that direction, we'll never reach our destination. Eternally, we can walk and walk and walk and walk forever and never get there. So Krishna is telling us that don't be concerned if you think, wow, I'm doing everything opposite of what I used to do. That means you're on the right track. Because that is the perspective between the introspective sage and the material intelligence. The goal of both is one. But only one path will reach the desired goal. The other will be waiting in long lines and queues to get small glimpses of enjoyment. Yes, there's happiness in the material world, no doubt. But it is in such small quantity. So, I thought I could share one story that in many ways illustrates this opposite of perspective. So I'm going to narrate this pastime, and you can think through each phase of this pastime how the mind of the materialist would view those activities and how the mind of the spiritualist views this person's activities. And you'll see how they're completely opposite perspectives. So, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami narrates this discussion, this meeting between Srila Sanatana Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. in Benares, Sanatana Goswami received extensive instruction from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the process of devotional service, on the activities of the introspective sage, how, the what to do, these specific details. So, now who is Sanatana Goswami? So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains the history of this great person and how he came to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Sanatana Goswami and his brother, they were great servants in the kingdom of Nawab Hussain Shah. This was in Bengal. This was only 500 years ago. Even in your history books, you can see this. At this time, the king of the Bengal area, this Nawab Hussain Shah, he was the richest in the entire world. It was the richest kingdom. In part, his great success was because he had two incredible ministers who were managing all the affairs of the kingdom so expertly. And who were those two ministers? Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, his brother. They were known by different names at that time. But, so they were serving in this government. One is basically we can say like Prime Minister or Chief Minister, Sanatana Goswami, and Rupa Goswami is like the Finance Minister. But they were pure devotees of the Lord. Every moment they were serving, they were accumulating more wealth. They were accumulating more power. Because when they were serving so nicely, the king would go off and try to conquer another land. Because he had such faith in the expert administration and management of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, that he was free from all of those duties to go out and acquire more. And thus he was becoming extremely powerful, very opulent. But Rupa and Sanatana Goswami both had zero desire for this position. They were not running election campaigns, putting their posters up saying, "Tell the king I'm doing a good job so I may remain in my post." Those are not elected positions, but they are chosen. There was no social media, canvassing, fundraising, trying to promote. No. They were looking and waiting how I can leave this position. A position most would crave for, die for. Wow, how I can obtain that. Such power. They were billionaires. Rupa Goswami, when he left, it said he had 2 boatloads of gold coins. What's the value of a single gold coin? And how many can be contained within a giant boat? So much wealth he had. So you can imagine how wealthy the king was. This was wealth given to him for his great service. So Rupa Goswami, through some means, left first. Even before they left, they would write letters to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would reply back to them in a very sweet way. In a verse we won't discuss, it's too difficult for me to digest, but they basically said that you do your activities in service of the king so expertly, but internally you meditate on me and the Supreme Lord and devotional service. So you do your work so expertly that the king will have no idea where your heart lies. And don't worry, I know where your heart lies. So this was the message he gave back. But after some time, they were now really prepared to join their heart and be in presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Rupa Goswami left this position. Now Sanatana Goswami was stuck, thinking, what do I? How come brother gets to go, younger brother gets to run away? But he wanted to go also. So anxious, so eager. King was not giving leave. Finally, Sanatana Goswami called in sick. Said, I am not feeling well. So he called in sick. And what he did while he was homesick, he was not sick. He called all great sages. And they assembled in his home. And they were studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Discussing, analyzing, exploring the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. What we would do when we call in sick?
Sleep.
Do something so-called fun. So-called fun. Sanatana Goswami was intense, enjoying the company of great friends in studying Srimad Bhagavatam. The king began to wonder, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month passed. Sanatana's not coming back. So he sent his doctor or one of his ministers, I don't remember, to see what's going on. So he went to the home of Sanatana Goswami. And when he saw him, he said, Sanatana's not sick. He's having a party. A Bhagavatam party. He could not understand why. That is the vision of a materialist. But, so he reported back to the king, Sanatana is not sick. So the Nawab Hussain Shah said, Sanatana, you must come back to work. And he said, I'm done. I will not. He said, don't be foolish like your brother. He left the most coveted position to be a mendicant. Don't be so foolish. I'm done. Sanatana said, that if you will not serve, then I will imprison you. No problem. So he put Sanatana in prison. And he jailed him. And there, Sanatana Goswami was thinking how to get out. And his brother Rupa Goswami sent one letter. In that letter, in very indirect means, he said, I have kept some money for you in the market. There's no banking system, no deposit account. They used to keep money with the merchants. So he had kept big sum of money. Rupa Goswami gave us the formula of how we should manage our finances. His formula was 50% should be spent in Krishna's service, 25% for emergency, and 25% for your needs, basic needs. So he had left 25% for this emergency of getting Sanatana Goswami out of prison. So Sanatana Goswami approached the jailer. And the jailer, we know, what is going to be his motivation? Material. Money. But Sanatana Goswami presented him, just in case he had a spiritual motive as well. He said, if you let me go, then you will gain the benefits of doing something pious. And I'll also give you 5,000 gold coins. So he's thinking, playing to his material motives and his spiritual motives. But the jailer was fearful that if I let him go, the king will become extremely... This is a VIP prisoner. This is a high profile, most wanted list. If I let him go, he'll kill me. He explained to Sanatana Goswami. He said, don't worry. I'm not even going to stay in your country. I'm going to Mecca. He was working for a Muslim government, so he was saying, I'm going to Mecca and be a mendicant there. I'll never give any... Don't worry. Just tell the king, that I went to perform my activities near the river, and then I jumped in the river. And because I had the shackles on my feet, I surely drowned. And he'll... What's that? Still he's not convinced. So he upped the price, the bribe. And he gave him 7,000 gold coins. And now the jailer was happy. And so he cut the chains and he let Sanatana Goswami go. And Sanatana Goswami is traveling now, but he's staying off the main roads out of risk of being caught, identified, high profile person on the run. And he had one servant with him, Ishan. And so he and the servant are going, and they come just at the start of some very hilly land. And there was one, we can say, hotel. We can, that type of hotel. And they were going to plan to stay the night there, take some prasad, rest, and then carry on the next day. So this hotel owner is very materially intelligent. So what he had, his receptionist, who would check you in, ID please, credit card, this, that. Do you have a reservation? He was a fortune teller. He was a palmist. So he could see who was rich and who was not. And based on that, then, the owner would rob them at night. So, when Sanatana Goswami and Niśā came, he thought, so the palmist told the owner, these guys are very rich. They're carrying 8 gold coins. So, the hotel owner then began to really shower 5-star service on Sanatana Goswami. Making such wonderful arrangements, bringing bhoga so that he may cook for himself, knowing he won't eat anyone else's foods, arranging for bath, nice place to rest. Sanatana Goswami, he is expert in diplomacy. He understands. He thought, something's not right here. He's giving too much service. This is a 3-star hotel and he's giving 5-star service. He must have some motive. When we want something from someone, what do?
Please do.
We overserve. We really butter them up. Right? Children are good at this. Adults are too. So, Sanatana Goswami, being very supremely intelligent, he said, Ishan, are you carrying any money with you? And Ishan said, yes. I'm carrying 7 gold coins. Really? Come. And in the evening, he went to the owner and said, take these 7 gold coins. And with this you can help me cross this hilly land that's coming. But you take this, I don't want the wealth. And the hotel owner was shocked. He says, you don't know. But I was prepared to kill you at night because of these gold coins. My fortune teller had informed me that you were carrying some wealth. Now I don't want it. Please, you take it back. I'm embarrassed. I'll still help you cross. And what Sanatana Goswami said? These gold coins are a nuisance. If you don't kill me for them, someone else will. You take them. I don't want them. And then the hotel owner said, but my dear sir, my fortune teller said there were 8 gold coins. And so Sanatana looks to his son. You have 8? You told me 7. He says, yes, I have carried 1 gold coin with me. He said, okay. And he sent him home. So you go. What kind of servant is this? So Sanatana Goswami handed over the coins. And next day, this hotel owner with his servants took Sanatana Goswami across the hilly land to the other side through a safe path. And Sanatana Goswami continued on. And then he came to a town, and his brother-in-law, the husband of his sister, Sanatana Goswami was unmarried, so his sister's husband, was there. And he was also in a very high position. He was working for the king, another king. And he was purchasing horses. And he had with him 300,000 gold coins. And he was purchasing horses and dispatching them to the king. So when he saw Sanatana Goswami in very torn and dirty clothes and beard, he says, "What are you doing? You have left your job. Are you crazy? You're so foolish." And he began to lecture him. And Sanatana Goswami said, "That is nonsense. No use, no value." So Shrikant, seeing, his brother-in-law's name was Shrikant, seeing the position and determination of Sanatana Goswami, he said, "Okay, at least take this very expensive chadar or cloth, cover yourself nicely, even over your torn and dirty clothes, no problem. But just take it." So Shrikant gave him a very expensive blanket, chadar. And Sanatana Goswami was wearing that and continued on. And he finally reached the home of Chandrasekhar. And this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is staying. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, knowing he is omniscient, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said, "A great sage has come to your home, bring him in." So Chandrasekhar goes to the balcony, looks outside. All he sees is this man with big beard, dirty clothes, torn, almost like homeless looking person. And he looks around and says, "I don't see any sage." He's expecting to see someone, nice saffron clothes, bright blazing tilak, shika. "I don't see any." He says, "I saw this one bearded man." And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "That bearded man is the sage. You call him." Chandrasekhar is okay. And he brings Sanatana Goswami in. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees Sanatana Goswami, he embraces him so tightly. So much love. He sits him down on a seat next to him. With his own hands, he begins to cleanse his body and clothes. Chandrasekhar's blown away. Who is this person that is receiving this kind of love and favor from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to explain, who is this Sanatana Goswami? And he asked, Chandrasekhar, arranged so that he may take bath, shaven up, cleaned up. And in this way he carried on. But still, one thing was a little bit peculiar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staring at Sanatana Goswami. And what he was staring at?
Blanket.
That blanket. Saying, this is not fit for a spiritualist. And Sanatana Goswami is saying that he went to the banks of the Ganges and he saw one old, Brahmin who was there, and he had a torn quilt, torn blanket. And he said, "My dear sir, can I trade you?" And you're going to trade me your expensive blanket for this torn one? Are you crazy? He says, no, give me it. And he said, "Sounds too good to be true." And Sanatana Goswami took that. He took one old Tapan Mishra's dhotis, tore it in half, and made some undergarments and outerwear. And came from where? This royal position to the position of a mendicant. Now, to a materialist, let's analyze how they would view the first activity of wanting to leave that position. How many politicians are anxious to leave office? They want to die in the office. The power, the fame, the money. But Sanatana Goswami, being fully fixed in devotional service, wanted nothing to do with that. No attachment. His attachment was to Krishna. When he called in sick, what activity partake in? Playing cards, watching movies, going to the mall? No. use the time to study Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of great devotees. When he received this very great quilt blanket, recognizing the dismay, he so easily detached. How are we detaching from our possessions? Not so much. So you can see Sanatana Goswami is taking the perspective of the introspective sage, completely opposite to what we see from the materialists. For the materialists, when they see the activity of Sanatana Goswami, they think, what a madman! Right? But when a devotee sees the activities of Sanatana Goswami, what do we see? What a supremely intelligent person, detached from the material allurements. We see perfection in activity and behavior. We aspire how I can develop that. Completely opposite, night and day. The motto of the devotee is simple living, high thinking. How much we really need to live. Basic necessities, not so much is really needed. Simple living, so that energy and time can be spent on high thinking. But what is the motto of the materialist? High living and no thinking. Just do. Run, 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 run. No thinking. Just eat, drink, and be merry. To the end. So this is what is night for all beings, is a time of awakening for the self-control. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So we have to decide, are we walking this way or are we walking this way? The eternal amusement park or the one we know through our own experience? Okay? Any questions or comments? Concerns?
So, Prabhu, not related to the story, but we have the loved ones around us. How can we make them to start read this Gita? What are the tips, basic tips?
Yeah. How to inspire someone to read this Bhagavad Gita? Well, first of all, it's the great desire you have. Because you have compassion. If we see our loved ones walking this way, knowing it is a dark well in front, a ditch of material, we want to bring them this way. So first thing is we desire. And we pray to Krishna. Please help this souls. Second thing is, by our activities, by our practice of Krishna consciousness, one becomes all attractive. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Rupa Goswami explains in Nectar of Devotion, that one of the characteristics is subhadda, which means all auspicious. And one acquires very attractive qualities by the practice of Krishna consciousness. What are those attractive qualities? Not getting angry, being very forgiving, tolerant, humble, loving, sincere, truthful. Are these not qualities that attract people? These are the qualities that develop by the practice of devotional service. So those qualities, our loved ones will begin to see in us. You know, you used to be so temperamental. Now, you're so patient with me. What happened? You know, you used to be so, agitated. And now you have this aura, you have this energy. It happens. So by our own practice, these questions will start to come. And they'll become inspired. So first, we have to practice, read, and do. And our family, our loved ones, we can ask them, I am finding some great things in this Bhagavad Gita. You just bring it in your house. It's none different than the Lord. So auspicious. Just take it. They'll say, I don't have time to read it. I don't understand. I tried once. Nothing made sense to me. You say there's no loss, no problem. Just keep it in your home and look at it. And it will create some nice feelings. If you have to go far, it'll bring you good luck. Who doesn't want good luck? So based on where they're interested to hear, but whatever it takes, have them bring this into their home. If you have to go personally and put it in their home, no problem. And know that someday, with this book in their house, they'll open it. Someday, there are so many stories of people who have had Bhagavad Gita for 10, 15, 20 years. Sometimes even upset that it is in their house. But then at one point, they opened it. And their whole life changed. So, you can beg them, you can inspire them, you can force them, depending on how close you are to them. Of course, we don't do that. We don't want to be a nuisance either. Prabhupada is very adamant. When we go on book distribution, we should not be a disturbance. We should not, threaten people. If you don't take this, inauspiciousness will come on you. We should not say things like that. We should not make them feel guilty if they don't take, you're a fallen rascal. No. We should be enthusiastic, but intelligently enthusiastic. Prabhupada is very adamant. We should never be a nuisance in trying to distribute. So we do so with love. And you can do it. So the main thing is, first, everyone acquire books. I was speaking on Friday. 520 million books have been distributed in the world in these BBT's books. 520 million. Do you think there's not interest and demand for these books? If that many in over 70 languages are being produced, there is a calling, a search for these books. So can't we distribute 10 or 15 ourselves? 520 million others have done. Certainly we can do 10 or 15 easily.
So is this online available to order and ship to someone in India?
Yeah, you can ship to India. Yeah. If you have friends you want to ship to in India, you can ship. Even if you have that, we'll find a temple near your home and we'll find devotees who take and bring it to them. If that's what it takes, that's how compassionate devotees are. Even if they don't know that person, but some other person says, please take this person to Bhagavad Gita, they will run. That's how much love they have. So you find somehow we'll get them the books. That's guaranteed. They can be in the North Pole and some devotee will go and give them a book if there's a desire. There's no obstacle. The only obstacle is in our mind and heart. I don't want to. So that obstacle we can remove. Okay. Yeah.
Prabhu, to really follow this verse, you should be one-minded. It's like only Krishna consciousness, only spiritual thinking, right? Then only we can even attain this state. But we live in a society where, let's say, you don't take them anywhere out because they want to enjoy some materialistic world. So if you don't do any of those things, then you are seeing something different. That why did you even be here? What are you doing for the family? So it's so difficult to balance this. So how to even, because it looks like, with this kind of powerful thing,
Yeah.
you just can't do anything apart from this.
Yeah. No. So remember, what was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction to Sanatana Goswami? You do the affairs of working while your heart is somewhere else. So yeah, we may have to, take our family to go see Niagara Falls. That's a very common thing to do here, right? It's okay, you do it. You do it. You take them. That's part of your duty as well. Maybe you can find some way to, put one Prabhupada lecture on while you're driving. If not, with some budget. Bring some prasad. When you're there, appreciate, wow, how Krishna created such an amazing thing. But you do it, you experience it. But your heart should be attached to Krishna. So, socially, we are pushed to do certain things, right? Like, you have to attend a wedding, or you have to attend some function. You have to do it. And you shouldn't do it miserably either. I hate this. No. Don't be a nuisance. Right? Again, attract people by your good behavior. So, but we should not come attached to those activities. So we have to be careful. Right? So yeah, you have to do those things. People come and visit you. You cannot take them, just to the temple. You can maybe add that as part of your tour to give them some blessings. And then you may have to do some things, no problem. But where our consciousness is, where our heart is, should be clear. Right? It's just like we go to the office, right? We have to go to work. Well, how can I make work like going to the temple? Doesn't mean you go to the office in a dhoti and put tilak on. That may not be acceptable in the norms of your office. So you go to office. You do your job. You have to have some small idle talk. Oh, did you see this happen? This you may have to have even some of that in order to fit within. Again, we have to draw lines and barriers, but we may have to do some of that. So you do it. But what's your goal of doing that? My goal is that I'm acquiring a living so that I can walk in this direction and live to serve Krishna's senses, not live to serve my own senses. So if our goal is that, then those means become somewhat justified. Now we have to be careful not to rationalize our activities. Right? So our heart should be fixed, but our external activities, as Sanatana Goswami's activities, are like that. You see? Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Sanatana Goswami, you should do your activities so expertly that he has no idea that your heart is there. So we should not even do it begrudgingly, right? Oh, fine, I'll take you to Niagara Falls. No. We should do it in a way that they feel like, oh, they're doing some nice service. And then find some way to reciprocate. Ask them to reciprocate. There's a temple along the way, let us stop. Of course, if you have done so lovingly that, they'll not. And that'll bring them some benefit, right? So we should do that. But again, internally our heart should be very fixed up. Very fixed. It's okay?
And
Yeah.
and Prabhu, like as you said, it's really a high thinking. This concept, I should not say concept, it still comes from. So it's like to understand, to make others to understand without some guru, like without a guru, is it possible to understand this book?
No, absolutely not. Krishna says, Tadvidi paripatena pariprashnena sevaya upakdekshantyate jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. In the chapter entitled Transcendental Knowledge, after explaining transcendental knowledge, what he tells Arjuna? One must approach a bona fide spiritual master. One must surrender, render service, and inquire from him. Why? Tattva darshinaha. Because the Guru has seen the absolute truth, they can impart it upon all of us. This knowledge is so high. Let me ask you, you're an engineer. Could you teach yourself engineering? Textbooks are available. Why you had to go to university? You needed a teacher. To learn driving, you need a teacher. To learn tennis, you need a teacher. Then how can we learn this supreme spiritual science without a teacher? And who is that teacher? That is the spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada, in his commentaries, is always referring to the academic study of this Bhagavad Gita will not yield the result. One must, in a submissive spirit, in a mood of inquiry, in a mood of service, approach this Bhagavad Gita to draw out its essence, to understand its teachings. And he says, without doing so, it is like trying to taste honey by licking the outside of a bottle. No matter how much you lick, though you are so close to it, what separates you and that honey is millimeters. You'll never get the taste. You must open the bottle. And who opens the bottle for us of this Bhagavad Gita? That is Guru. So Guru is very, very important. And Krishna says it himself. That is why Krishna himself takes Guru. Him and Lord Balaram go to Sandapani Muni's ashram and study to show us the path. It's okay? Any other questions? Comments? Okay. So, this night and day, if it is difficult for us, the means by which it becomes easy is taking to the chanting of the holy names. By chanting of the holy names with great sincerity, one can acquire this mentality, consciousness, and determination. The chanting of the holy name is so important. The philosophy is there right in front of us. And the application of it is to take to chanting. Because when we chant, our consciousness becomes purified. Our understanding becomes clear. It's like if I have dirty glasses, I can't quite see things. I'm mistaking, a rope for a snake. I am mistaking what is a refrigerator for a mountain. I can't see. But as soon as I begin to clean the glasses, everything becomes so clear. If it's not clear to us that we're in this material amusement park, which is a source of misery and frustration, it may not be clear to us. If it's not clear to us, how it will become clear? By cleansing of our lenses by which we are seeing. Cleansing the mirror of the heart. And how to cleanse the heart? It is through chanting. One must take to the process of chanting. It is the essential principle. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam kalo nashteva 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 gatirnyata. The holy names of the Lord, the holy names of the Lord, the holy names of the Lord. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama. In this age of Kali, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Nashta eva, nashta eva, nashta eva. To purify. There is no other way. This is the potency of the holy names. And we must do it every day. It is the essential principle to make any progress. So, if this seems far or a distant goal, that's okay. But no, it is readily attainable if we take to this powerful process of chanting. Because whatever is difficult can easily be achieved if we have a powerful force with us. Right? It may be difficult to lift 1,000 pounds, but if I have a powerful machine like a hydraulic lift system, it's so easy to lift, right? What is the powerful tool that can bring about this highest consciousness? It is chanting. So potent it is. But sometimes we become a little lazy in our process because it's so available. I think it can't be that potent. We underestimate its importance. So, take to the process of chanting. That is why every Bhakti Vriksha we chant the holy names. But it is not a once a week endeavor, a twice a week endeavor. It should be a daily endeavor. It must become part of our regiment. And then we will slowly begin to see how the material world is not for us and the spiritual world is readily waiting. Doors are open, ticket in hand. We just have to start walking.